This is the first in my 2017 Father's Day cards that I'm doing this year. This card serves a dual purpose of also helping me use up some of my paper scraps. There are a few videos on my channel which show how I go about utilizing the paper scrap. As you know, if you do any card making, as you have the large sized paper and you trim it down to your need, you get a whole bunch of these little narrow strips between 1 inch and 2 inches as you cut off the end of the paper, and that starts adding up. Check below for another video which I show how I'm storing my paper scraps. But for now, let's just go through this one. In addition to using the paper scraps, I'm doing a little stenciling here, which is, you see the stars on here, and there's a little bit of sparkle at the bottom. I was trying to keep this design very simple because I've been told that men don't like cards with a lot of ribbons and bows and all that stuff. So I hope that the fathers that I send these cards to really appreciate it, and I didn't go too far over the top. The inside is a very simple design which says Happy Father's Day to you, and it has a dapper gentleman. Okay, let me go over the materials that I used. As I said, this card is going to use paper scraps, so I have a bunch of scraps of green, which are various lengths, but they're all 1/2 inch wide. I have a panel which is cut 5 inches by 3 3/4. I have a scrap which is 1 inch thereabouts by 3 1/2. A scrap of black which is 1 inch by 4. A black mat which is 5 1/4 by 4, and a standard card base which is 8 1/2 by 5 1/2, scored at 4 1/4. I have the just a general dollar stamp set that I got to have the inside of the card, and I'm using one Stampin' Up set which is called Something to Celebrate, and this is a wood mounted stamp. I don't have this in clear. Additionally, I'm using a Stampin' Up let's get a piece of paper so you can see that stars excuse me, stencil, and I will also be using a little bit of sparkles. The inks I'm using today is a Distress ink Fossilized amber, and I will use a blending tool. This will be for the stenciling. Memento Cottage Ivy and Versafine Onyx black. Very simple, very minimal stamping on this card. Let me clear this stuff away and I'll just breeze right through how to put the card together. What we need to do is get these strips prepared for the card front, and they need to be 4 1/2 each in length. So I'll just quickly use my guillotine cutter. So you just line up the strip to that you want and just give it a cut. I may cut this part out because once you saw me do the first one, you could figure out the rest. Okay, and before I take my cutter away, I'm going to stamp my Father's Day sentiment, because this piece of paper needs a little bit of adjustment too, because I needed to have a piece really just a little bit more than 3/4 of an inch, but it's easier for me if I stamp it and line it up and then cut it afterwards. Getting stuff straight is not my strong point, and that looks a little crooked. I'm not happy with it, which is why I wanted to wait before I trimmed it, so I have a little bit of extra playroom with this. Okay, that's straighter. Now I'm going to be really careful and stick this in here, and I don't have a lot to hold on to, so it's a little tricky, and I have to make sure that I get it straight. So I'm going to need to cut off a little bit from both sides. Oops. There we go. Now I'm finished with that. Was this one of my pieces? Maybe. Hold on. Don't want to throw it away. Okay. Now, the part about this, I want to have an ombre effect. So I'm going to line these up in darkness to light. So this is subjective, I suppose. However you think it looks best, go for it that way. So I'm going to do it like this. So taking my smaller tape gun, I'm going to put a little bit of tape in 3 points and put the darkest piece on first. I'm going to have to use my eraser and get that off later. I'll show you how. It's the thing about watching my videos, you learn all the little ways to fix little boo-boos, because I have made quite a few. So they have it where you need it, and then give it a hard press. And now I'm taking the lightest one and lining it up on the other side of the paper, trying to eyeball it and make sure that I get it straight before I press it down. I'm giving this a very light touch so that the tape doesn't connect to the paper. So then I could just give it a little move if I need to, straighten it, and then press once I'm sure. And now I'm going to take the next darker one and line it up evenly spaced from the first one. Again, very lightly touching it so it can be moved if I need to. And then press it, and now take the next lightest one. And the final piece in the middle. Doing it this way is the best way to get even spacing through all of them and to keep it even. If you started from the left or the right and just went straight across, eventually you would lose your spacing. You may get to this end and not have enough space, or you have too much and it also may start going crooked. So when you're lining up strips or panels, this is the best way to do it. I learned this trick from Gina K. You should check out her channel for some really excellent stamp making videos. Her channel is Stamp TV. Okay, there we go. Now I want to do the stenciling. So I bring in my stencil and a piece of paper. And I don't have to tape this paper down because I'm pretty sure it's not going to move. And this stencil is so much larger than the card front that I'm sure I can hold it in place. So I'll just line it up where I think is a good representation. Not too many stars, not too few. And I like how that looks. Taking my ink blending tool and the, whoops, not there, Fossilized amber, and just punch right through, holding it to make sure it doesn't move, and just tap and twist. And be sure that you're getting all of the stamps, the stars, sorry, that is over your paper. And don't forget to get the white areas as well as the stripes. Make sure I didn't miss out on any, and I think I got them all. Now, there we go. All the stars. And you notice the stars on the darker panels have a slightly different color than the white area, but I like that effect. That's the way I wanted it to look. Alright, I'll just tape this right down to the black mat. This tape gun is running low. I'm hoping that it'll last to do the video. And just trying to get it straight and evenly centered. Set that aside and double check and make sure that this will fit, and it will. So I'll take out, there's a little boo-boo that I made. And you want to have this evenly lined up from the left side because we're going to trim this piece off. Need a little bit of foam tape because this is going to be popped up. Set this aside now. Take the card base, and I'm bringing in my MISTI tool. I've already put my stamp in place on the door. So I'm taking my whole card base and making sure that I have the mountain side facing up and the valley side, which is the outside of the card, facing down. And this side is the inside of the card. This is the back of the outside of the card. Hold it in place and just ink it up. And I think I'm going to need to stamp this 2 times to make sure I get a really good impression. And I do. If you wanted to give it a more distressed look, you could just let it go for the 1, but I want it to be a full, deep, dark imprint. Okay, that's good. And this is the good part about using the MISTI. You can overstamp things like that, and you can, if you don't get a good impression on the more solid images, the MISTI will keep your stamping in place, and you can stamp it as many times as you need. Okay. Now I'm just going to go ahead and assemble the card. It's very simple from this point. Okay, and I remember I got a little bit of adhesive here, so I'm going to show you how to get that off. This is an adhesive eraser. It's very inexpensive. You can get it at any craft store, and you just give it a rub and the adhesive will come right off. There, good as new. Adhesive eraser, it's your friend. And if you didn't have one of those, where is my little, 1 second. Well, I seem to have replaced it, misplaced it, sorry, but here it is. Your embossing buddy. You could just take it and just go over any part that you think you may have gotten a little adhesive on, and it'll make it not sticky. But unfortunately, you may be able to see it if you do it that way. But if you don't have this, you can do that. You could also, if you thought you were really careful, take your thumb and just pull it off. But that doesn't work out sometimes, and sometimes you can make it look worse than if you had just left it alone. Alright, since this was such a simple design, and I have bunches of scraps, I went ahead and made several others in different colors. So here's blue and here's brown. And this took no time at all to do it. It was very simple design. And as I said, using up scraps. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe to my channel. I'd like to thank my brother David for the song that he wrote specifically for Father's Day. Thanks for watching, and you can check out his channel. There'll be a link below. Have a good day. Take care, and happy Father's Day.